Hi. Welcome to Lily's Story channel. If you like my channel, please like and subscribe. Now the story begins. There's no one else I'd rather marry but you. Making our mating bond official and sacred has always been my dream, so yes, Edward, I would marry you. My voice wavered, and heat crept up my cheeks. I could already imagine his reaction. But the moment I twisted the doorknob and pushed the door open, my world came crashing down. Edward was there, as expected, but there were no flowers or petals scattered on the floor. He wasn't wearing a suit either or holding out a ring while kneeling in front of me. In fact, he was naked and still asleep. Beside him, just as bare, was Monette. For 4 years, Olivia devoted herself to loving her fated mate, Edward, believing that one day, he would finally make her his wife and seal their mating bond. But on the day she thought he would propose, she uncovered a heartbreaking truth. Edward had been unfaithful all along. Shattered, Olivia walked away, disappearing from his life to reclaim the royal status she had once set aside for love. Now that the truth of her identity has been revealed, Edward has returned begging for a second chance. But why does he want her now? Is it because he finally sees her worth? Or because he realizes just how much he stands to gain from her? When Olivia decided she wanted nothing to do with him, how far would Edward go to reclaim the woman he so easily betrayed? The silverware clattered against the plate as Edward, my mate, my boyfriend of 4 years, and the heir to the Waverley clan, finished the last bite of his steak. When our eyes met, I beamed at him. I made that steak. What do you think? I asked, eager for his response. It's good, he said flatly as he rose from his seat. Undeterred, I followed him down the hallway. Good in what way? Come on, describe it. But Edward stopped abruptly, turning to face me with his jaw clenched. Olivia, I don't have time to waste describing how your steak tastes. The Lafleur Grand Ball is coming up, and you know how important that is to me. So please, he let out a slow breath. Stop bothering me with your nonsensical shit. That's the only help you could give. I stood there as he walked off. Biting my lip, I swallowed the lump forming in my throat. Then, I felt a gentle tap on my shoulder. Let it slide, Lady Olivia, Maid Agatha murmured. Lafleur clan belongs to the Alpha, the wealthiest in the gold sterling pack. Every clan is eager to strike a deal with them, any agreement at all. If Edward managed to secure one, it would be a tremendous advantage for Waverley clan. His mind is likely preoccupied with that right now. Her words stirred an idea in me. Without hesitation, I pulled my phone from my pocket and typed out a message. Meet me at Vita Cafe tomorrow at 8 in the morning. We need to discuss something important. Butler Silas, understood, Lady Lafleur, I'll be there. L. Me, Butler Silas. Stop calling me that. Butler Silas, my apologies, Lady Olivia Fleur. Me, good. I deleted the messages before heading straight to our bedroom. My eyes immediately caught a business card resting on the side table. Curious, I picked it up and read the words printed on it, Fancy Bride's Boutique. A warmth spread through my heart as I pressed the card against my chest. The weight of my earlier sadness seemed to lift, replaced by a flicker of hope. Then, as I opened the closet, something unexpected caught my eye, a small box sitting in plain sight. Hesitantly, I reached for it and lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in the velvet lining, was a rare blue diamond ring. My heart pounded, my cheeks grew warm, and for a moment, I simply stared before carefully placing it back where I found it. Why does Edward have a business card from a bridal boutique? Why would he hide such a rare diamond ring in our closet? Is he finally planning to propose to me? After 4 years together, is he finally going to marry me? Fuck. That's what I wanted all my life. Yes, Edward. 1,000 times yes, marry me. I squealed. Unable to contain my joy, I jumped onto the bed and rolled back and forth like a giddy child. The next morning, I arrived at Vita Cafe at precisely 7:30. Dressed simply in modest clothes, black sunglasses, and a headscarf, I chose the farthest seat inside, away from prying eyes. As I waited, my fingers tapped lightly against the table. A few moments later, I spotted butler Silas approaching. "Lady Olivia, good morning." He greeted me with a gentle smile. "It's nice to see you again. How have you been?" "I'm doing great," I said, barely able to suppress my excitement. "Actually, I think Edward is going to propose very soon, maybe after the grand ball. I can hardly wait." Butler Silas slightly shook his head. "Is that so?" he murmured before shifting his focus. "Anyway, what did you want to discuss?" I met his gaze, took both of his hands in mine, and leaned in slightly. "I need your help. Edward must secure a deal with the Lafleur clan at the grand ball. Can you make it happen?" His brows knitted together. "Lady Olivia, you know I'm not allowed to arrange things like that. It wouldn't be fair to the other clans." "Please, Butler Silas," I interrupted, my voice pleading. "Do it for me." He let out a deep sigh, running a hand over his face before finally nodding. "Fine. You know I can't say no to you. I'll arrange for the Waverley members' tables to be placed near the Alpha so Edward can speak with him easily." A delighted smile spread across my face. "You're the best." But before I could bask in my small victory, his expression turned serious. "But Lady Olivia, it's been 4 years. When are you going to come back? When are you going to tell him the truth about your—" I widened my eyes, silently urging him to lower his voice. He hesitated, then sighed again. "I'm just saying, you're more than just Edward Waverley's mate. More than just his girlfriend. More than this simple, fabricated life." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You're the heiress of the Lafleur clan, Lady Olivia." I sighed. "You know I'm doing this to make sure he marries me for love, not because of my status in the Lafleur clan. I promise, once he proposes, I'll tell him the truth. But for now, I'll stay with the identity of Olivia Fleur, an unwealthy she-wolf who has nothing to offer him but love." I winked at Butler Silas, hoping he'd understand. He exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "Your stubbornness is going to get you into trouble." After my conversation with Butler Silas, I returned to Waverley's kingdom, still floating on the thought of Edward proposing of us finally starting our life together as husband and wife. But in my distracted state, I accidentally bumped into someone. Dressed in a form-fitting red dress that hugged her curves effortlessly, a sleek leather jacket, and towering stilettos, she carried an air of confidence. Her golden blonde hair cascaded in waves. And her sharp Evelyner made her eyes even more piercing. She was stunning. But more than that, she was unfamiliar. I had never seen her here before. Who was she? "I'm sorry." She cut me off with a sharp tone. "Watch where you're going next time, maid." I blinked, taken aback. "Excuse me? I am not a maid." She rolled her eyes, tilting her head with arrogance. That's when I noticed a fresh hickey on her neck. Then, my gaze shifted to the jacket draped over her shoulders. My breath hitched as I realized something. It was Edward's. I knew it because I was the one who bought it for him, a custom-made piece, one of a kind. He was the only person who owned it. My mind raced. Had this bratty she-wolf stolen it from him? Desperate for an answer, I grabbed her arm just as she turned her back on me. She whirled around with her eyes blazing. "Do you fucking know how much this jacket costs? Get your filthy hands off it." The audacity. I smirked, releasing her arm. "That jacket costs around $100,000. I would know because I was the one who bought it for Edward Waverley. My mate." I held her gaze, my voice steady, pressing for a reaction. "Now tell me, why are you wearing it? Who are you?" Instead of answer, Ina. She threw her head back and laughed. Then, With a slow condescending glance from my head to my toes, she sneered. And what made you think I'd believe you? You're just a maid. There's no way you could afford this. And Edward's mate? She scoffed. You must be hallucinating. I didn't waste another breath arguing. Instead, I pulled my collar aside and revealed our mate Mark. She faltered, her eyes widening. But to my frustration, the confidence in her demeanor barely wavered. And then Edward arrived. Before I could even speak, the she-wolf immediately wrapped her arms around his waist and pressed herself against his body. My breath caught. What shattered me most? Edward didn't even try to push her away. Confusion engulfed me as I stared at them. Edward, why does she have your jacket? Do you know her? Before he could answer, she pressed herself even closer to him, deliberately letting her chest brush against his arm. Ed, she cooed, pouting. Ed? How close are they, for her to casually give him a nickname? Your arrogant mate just slapped me 3 times. She even accused me of stealing your jacket. My blood boiled. Fuck that. That's a lie. I never. Edward cut me off, his jaw tightening. Without hesitation, he pulled me a step away from her. She's Monette Hampton, he said firmly. The sole heiress of the Hampton clan. She's a childhood friend of mine, and her family has contributed a lot to the Waverley clan's success, especially when my parents tragically died. I owe them, Olivia. You can't just show attitude or lay your hands on her. His words landed like a slap. So that's where I stood? Just some reckless, jealous maid embarrassing him in front of an important person? I swallowed hard and forced a nod. Whatever you say, Edward. Still, I didn't do anything to her. She's lying. In fact, she's the one who called me a maid. Enough, Olivia. Why is she even here? I asked otherwise, and for a moment, he seemed unable to say anything. Why? I pressed harder. A few seconds later, Edward sighed. She's here on vacation. I blinked. Vacation? For how long? His gaze wavered slightly before he finally answered. 3 months, Olivia. And she specifically requested that I stay by her side most of the time. My chest tightened. And you agreed? I didn't have a choice, he said, his tone edged with frustration. It was her parents' request. I can't say no to them, or to her, and I need you to understand that. As always, I did. Because that's what a good girlfriend, a good mate does. To understand. To agree. To accept. Deep down though, a gnawing unease took root. I had a feeling things would only get worse from here. That Edward was keeping something from me. Something about Monette Hampton. Needless to say, the more I thought about it, the more it struck me how could she be his childhood friend when Edward had never once mentioned her before. The sharp scent of cigarette smoke lingered in the air, curling through the dimly lit bedroom. Edward stood near the window, wearing nothing but his ripped jeans, his bare back illuminated by the faint glow of the city lights. I lay on the bed, my tiny nightgown barely covering me, the haze of alcohol dulling my senses but not enough to silence the question that had been haunting at me. Summoning courage, I finally asked, when are you going to sever your mating bond with Olivia? I mean, I already rejected my fated mate for you for this relationship to even have a chance. Edward flicked his cigarette into the bin before turning to face me. His calloused hands cupped my face, his lips pressing a brief kiss against mine. When he pulled back, our gazes locked. She's my mate, he said. And she will be at least until the Le Fleur Grand Ball. Another kiss. A distraction. Our alpha wants stability. No conflicts, no loose ends. If I can make it seem like my mating bond with Olivia is intact, there's a strong chance I'll secure a deal with the Le Fleur clan. His words slipped smoothly from his lips as he slowly eased me back onto the bed. Okay, I murmured, even though I didn't agree with his decision. I love you, Edward. I can't wait for the day we don't have to hide anymore. I deserve more than to be just your mistress. I love you too, Monette. Please, just be patient a little longer, he whispered before trailing kisses down my neck. The hunger between us was insatiable, desperate, and reckless. We surrendered to it, losing ourselves in each other through the night. Morning arrived, and I woke up at 6. Edward still lay naked and asleep beside me. My fingers traced the sharp lines of his face. Then, I leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to his lips. Goddamn, he looked so beautiful. At that moment, it hit me all over again. This man wasn't mine. A sharp pang twisted in my chest as my thoughts darkened. Olivia had the right to touch him too. To hold him. To claim him in ways I never truly could. That's when jealousy burned through me. Edward, you feel so good next to me. I don't want to wait anymore. I don't want to share. My voice was a sultry whisper. Slowly, I slipped out of bed, my movements silent as I reached for his phone on the bedside table. He had entered his passcode last night, and I had memorized it effortlessly. I unlocked the screen and scrolled through his contacts, searching for a specific number. When I finally found it, a slow smirk curved my lips. I began typing. Room 354. Vendora Hotel. Be here at 7 a.m., babe. I have a surprise to show you. With a single tap, the message was sent. And just as quickly, I erased it. Next, I picked up the room's phone and dialed the front desk. We're expecting a guest in room 354. Please let her in when she arrives. I hung up. The plan was set. Ensuring the door was unlocked, I let my silk nightgown slip from my shoulders, pooling at my feet. Then, I climbed back into bed, pressing myself against Edward's warm body beneath the sheets. And I waited. Olivia. The whole night, I tossed and turned, wondering where Edward was. I had fallen asleep waiting for him to arrive, yet he hadn't. But then, as the morning light slipped through the curtains, my phone buzzed with a message. Edward, room 354. Vendora Hotel. Be here at 7 a.m., babe. I have a surprise to show you. The words jolted me fully awake. Just like that, all my doubts about his loyalty melted away. A surprise. Maybe that's why he hadn't come home last night. He had been busy preparing something special for me. Heart fluttering with renewed excitement, I quickly typed a reply. Really? Okay, babe. I'll see you. Slipping out of bed, I rushed to the closet, searching for the perfect dress. But as I sifted through the hangers, my fingers froze. The diamond ring was gone. I let out a loud scream, jumping around in excitement. Is this it? Is today the day he finally proposes? Is he really going to do it now? My heart raced at the thought. Determined to make this moment perfect, I took my time in the bath, letting the warm water soothe my nerves. I applied elegant makeup, slipped into a delicate white dress, and styled my brunette hair neatly. A final touch, his favorite perfume before stepping out of the house, beaming. I even greeted strangers along the way. Hailing a cab, I arrived at the hotel in just 15 minutes. I took a deep breath before stepping inside. The receptionist greeted me warmly and, without hesitation, granted me access to room 354. Standing before the door, I rehearsed my words one last time. There's no one else I'd rather marry but you. Making our mating bond official and sacred has always been my dream. So yes, Edward, I would marry you. My voice wavered, and heat crept up my cheeks. I could already imagine his reaction. But the moment I twisted the doorknob and pushed the door open, my world came crashing down. Edward was there, as expected, but there were no flowers or petals scattered on the floor. He wasn't wearing a suit either or holding out a ring while kneeling in front of me. In fact, he was naked and still asleep. Beside him, just as bare, was Monette. She didn't even flinch seeing me. Instead, She met my gaze with a slow smirk and whispered, "Did you like your mate's surprise, him?" Tears spilled down my face, uncontrollable and relentless, yet I couldn't move my eyes away from the sight before me. In a single moment, for years of my life, years I had willingly given to Edward, were reduced to nothing. The love I had poured into him so freely was replaced in an instant by anger and disgust. How dare he betray me like this? Was this why, after all this time, he had never once considered marrying me? Fuck. I really thought he was going to propose. "Do you like what you see, Olivia? You look completely mesmerized," Monette purred, dragging a perfectly manicured hand down Edward's bare chest. Her voice, her smirk, everything about her grated on my nerves. My pain and fury blended into something reckless. Without hesitation, I slipped off the left side of the 6-inch stiletto I was wearing and hurled it straight at Monette's head. Ouch! What the fuck? Monette yelped, reacting just in time. The commotion stirred Edward awake. His eyes fluttered open, still clouded with sleep, so I seized the opportunity. Slipping off my remaining stiletto, I took aim, this time at him. "Bullseye," I murmured as it struck its target. Now, both of them were clutching their reddened foreheads, glaring at me in shock. Then, reality hit Edward. His gaze darted between me and Monette before he hastily pulled the sheets over her and scrambled to put his clothes back on. Guilt flickered in his eyes as he approached me. "Olivia, it's not what you think." "I'm sorry, please just let me explain," he pleaded, reaching for my hand. I stepped back, disgust curling in my chest. "Don't touch me with your sinful hands, Edward." My voice trembled with fury. I met his gaze. "Is this what best friends do on vacation? Is this what you meant when you said you were doing it for the Waverley clan? Is this the thing you wanted me to understand?" The words tumbled out continuously. I was shattered. "I'm sorry," Edward muttered. I wiped the tears from my face. "I started doubting your faithfulness the moment Monette entered the picture. But I chose to trust you because I believed you loved me. I even thought today was the day you'd finally propose." I let out a hollow laugh. "Is this the surprise you were talking about, Edward? Is this why you asked me to come here?" His brows knitted together. "What are you talking about? What surprise?" I cut him off, my patience snapping. "The business card from a wedding gown boutique," I said, watching him closely. Edward inhaled sharply, but no words came. That silence told me everything. Monette scoffed. "My God, Olivia, you really are a delusional freak. Edward's been looking at wedding gowns for me, not for you." I turned to her just as she lifted her hand, flaunting her fingers. And there it was. My heart crumpled in on itself as my gaze landed on the rare diamond ring, the same one I had found in our closet. The ring I had foolishly believed was meant for me. "See this?" Monette flaunted the ring, a smug smile curling on her lips. "Edward gave it to me as a promise that he'd marry me once he severed his mating bond with you." A sharp pain lodged in my throat as I turned to Edward. "Is that true?" Monette let out a scoff. "Edward, come on. Tell her the truth about us. Tell her you don't love her anymore. That you won't marry her because you could never take a low-ranking she-wolf as your wife." Silence. Edward dropped his gaze to the floor, shame written all over his face. When he finally spoke, his voice was weak. "I lied. Monette's not here for a vacation. She's here to stay." He swallowed hard, refusing to meet my eyes. "She's not my childhood best friend. We've been dating for over a year now. Her family already had plans for us, for the clans, and over time, I started to love her too," he exhaled, his expression pained. "While my feelings for you slowly faded. I'm really sorry." A cold emptiness spread through me. I shook my head. "But I love you," I said, my voice breaking. "I gave you my all, Edward." "Exactly. That's all you could ever give me, love," Edward said, his tone sharp. But love alone isn't enough, Olivia. You can't offer anything to help the Waverly clan grow. Fuck, I don't even know where Fleur clan is or who your family are. It's harsh, but I need more than just affection. I need someone who can love me and be beneficial to me at the same time. Monette can give me that. His words cut through my very soul, but he wasn't done yet. We can sever our mating bond after the Lafleur clan grand ball, he added, as if he were doing me a favor. Something inside me snapped. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, then slapped him. His head whipped to the side, but it wasn't enough. I gritted my teeth and struck him again, this time hard enough to split his lip. Ending it at the grand ball for what? I spat, my voice ice cold. To make a spectacle out of it? To prove to everyone that you're in a great relationship? To earn the alpha's trust? To secure a deal with Lafleur? I let out a bitter laugh. No fucking way. My eyes burned with hatred. If I'm not beneficial to you, then let it stay that way forever. His jaw clenched, his hands curling into fists. You can't do that, Olivia. I need to be at the grand ball with a mate. I grabbed his collar, yanking him close. His breath hitched as my grip tightened, cutting off some of his air. Fuck you and your selfish ways, Edward, I hissed. We're going to the Pack Elders and ending this worthless bond right now. Edward couldn't do anything to stop me. I had made my decision, and I made sure he knew the consequences of standing in my way. I'd expose his infidelity to the entire Waverly clan, and I knew him too well. He would do anything just to keep his reputation intact. So that night, on the very same day I discovered his infidelity, we severed our mating bond. The process was agonizing. It felt as if a piece of my heart, my body, and my soul had been ripped away, leaving behind a hollow void. But the worst part was watching my wolf grieve for the love that was meant to be hers, for the future that would never come to pass. Hours after the bond was broken, Edward found me again. This time, I refused to let him see my pain. I'm sorry it had to end this way, Olivia. I hope you have a good future. I scoffed, locking eyes with him. Wish yourself and your mistress a good future instead, Edward. Because I swear to the moon goddess and every god above. I stepped closer, letting my words sink in. Betraying me will be the biggest regret of your life. Edward let out a small laugh, looking away. What do you mean? You're talking like you're about to hire someone to kill me. I smirked. I can do worse than that, Edward. Then, without another glance, I walked past him, leaving him with nothing more to say. The very next day, I left the Waverly clan. 3 hours on a bus felt like an eternity. By the time I reached the Lafleur clan, I was in my worst state, exhausted, broken, and barely holding myself together. Yet, as I passed through the towering golden gates, the knights stationed there recognized me instantly. Without hesitation, they bowed their heads. As I walked deeper into the Lafleur estate, an unexpected figure appeared: Prince Sarge Gregory. He had once pursued me, long before I met Edward, but I had never given him a chance, believing my heart belonged to my fated mate. Now, as he approached, concern etched across his face, I wondered if fate had been mocking me all along. Lady Olivia, you're back, he said gently. Are you all right? I let out a quiet sigh. It's a shame you have to see me like this, but believe me, I'm trying my best to be. My voice was steady. We can talk another time, Prince Sarge. For now, please just go about your day. He studied me for a moment, then gave a small, understanding smile. All right. It's good to see you again. With that, he turned and walked away. Just then, Butler Silas hurried toward me. So, it's true you've returned, Lady Olivia Fleur. I cut him off, lifting my chin with confidence. Olivia Lafleur, I corrected firmly. From now on, I'm back to being her, Butler Silas. Although Butler Silas smiled, his brows knit together in confusion. Why? Did Edward finally propose? Did you tell him the truth about your identity? Is he here? He fired off his questions one after another. I took a deep breath, then pulled down my collar, revealing the bare skin where my mate Mark had once been. Silas' eyes widened. "We severed our mating bond," I said bitterly. "I caught him cheating on me with the heiress of the Hampton clan." "Fuck," he muttered under his breath, then, regaining his composure, he cleared his throat. "Well, I suppose I'll seat them at the farthest corner of the grand ball." I shook my head, a cold smile playing on my lips. "No, Butler Silas. Let them sit closest to my father. The Hampton clan, too, put them near the alpha," I instructed. "I want them to see up close who I really am. I want them to realize they crossed the wrong person." Understanding flickered in his eyes. After our brief conversation, Butler Silas wasted no time. Within minutes, he had gathered at least 10 maids to prepare my room in the palace. Then, another 10 to arrange everything I would need: clothing, shoes, jewelry, and every essential required for me to reclaim the life I had foolishly abandoned for love. A few hours later, I stepped out of the walk-in closet and faced the massive mirror. I smiled. Wearing a designer dress, a delicate necklace resting against my collarbone, high heels accentuating my stance, and a luxurious fur coat wrapped around my shoulders, I was no longer the Olivia who had foolishly given everything for love. With my makeup flawlessly applied and my reflection exuding power, I could finally say it with certainty. Lady Olivia Lafleur, heiress of the Lafleur clan, was back. Just then, my phone buzzed with unexpected messages. "Edward, I didn't know you already left the clan. Why didn't you tell me?" "Edward, where are you, Olivia? Do you have anywhere to stay?" I scoffed, shaking my head. Now he wanted to act concerned? Then, another message. "Edward, you can stay in the clan, Olivia. I swear, Monette won't cross paths with you again. I already warned her." I let out a dry laugh. An hour passed. The messages kept coming. "Edward, come back, please. I'm not used to not seeing you around, Olivia. Edward, at least come back for the grand ball. I really need you to attend with me. Edward, please. We can just pretend we're still together." Then more. "Edward, can you respond? Edward, hello? Are you even reading my messages? Edward, damn it, I think I miss you. I just didn't expect you to leave so quickly." Those were the last ones I chose to read. Without hesitation, I powered off my phone and removed the SIM card, cutting off any further attempts from him to reach me. But just as I let out a breath, a sudden wave of nausea hit me. My stomach twisted, and I had to rush to the bathroom, barely containing the urge to vomit. I gripped the sink. This wasn't the first time. For the past 3 weeks, I had been feeling like this: lightheaded, queasy, exhausted. Now I wonder why. Gripped by curiosity and fear, I decided to secretly take a pregnancy test. I locked myself in the bathroom and stared at the kit, willing myself to stay calm as I followed the instructions. Minutes passed. The result appeared. My breath hitched. My fingers tightened around the test as I stared at it, refusing to believe what I was seeing. 2 lines. No. I hurriedly reached for another kit, my pulse pounding in my ears as I took it again, desperate for a different outcome. But when I checked the result, my world tilted. 2 lines. Again. Tears welled up, spilling down my cheeks as my heart pounded wildly against my ribs. A heavy, inescapable truth settled over me. I was pregnant. And the father was Edward. A choked sob escaped me as I pressed a hand to my stomach. Disoriented, I scrambled to hide the pregnancy tests, shoving them into the deepest corner of my belongings. No one could know. Not yet. And especially not Edward. Not when our mating bond had just been severed. Not when I had sworn to erase him from my life forever. Edward. The moment I had been anticipating and meticulously preparing for had finally arrived: the Lafleur Grand Ball. A prestigious event held only once every 5 years, it was an opportunity one couldn't afford to miss. Tonight, I had a chance to secure a valuable deal or establish a partnership with the Alpha's clan. Standing before the mirror, I took a final look at my reflection. My custom-tailored designer suit fit perfectly, complemented by polished leather shoes. To ensure I projected both status and respect, I had carefully chosen gold jewelry to complete the ensemble. Once satisfied with my appearance, I stepped out of the room to join the other members of the Waverly clan attending the ball. I greeted them with a polite smile, but the moment my eyes landed on Monette descending the grand staircase, my expression faltered. She wore a flowing blue gown, exuding an ethereal beauty like someone lifted straight from the pages of a fairy tale. Yet, despite how breathtaking she looked, she wasn't the one I had hoped to attend this night with. It was supposed to be Olivia. It was supposed to be my mate. As soon as Monette reached my side, the others quietly excused themselves, leaving us alone. Without hesitation, she leaned in and pressed a kiss to my cheek, leaving a bold red lipstick stain behind. Annoyed, I wiped it off immediately. "You shouldn't have done that," I muttered, my voice laced with irritation. "What?" "Kissing your cheek," she replied, feigning innocence. "You can just wipe it off." I leveled her with a cold glare. "No. I'm talking about Olivia. Telling her about our affair. Texting her, luring her to our hotel just to find us in bed intimate." My jaw tightened. "You shouldn't have done that. You should have trusted me to handle things instead of acting on impulse." She lowered her gaze. "I'm sorry. I just couldn't wait any longer to have you officially." Frustration boiled over, and I roughly cupped her face, forcing her to look at me. "I already told you I would marry you once the ball ended, once I secured a deal. Why did you have to ruin everything?" Despite my irritation, I still took her hand, and together, we went to the grand ball. No matter how furious I felt, I forced myself to exude confidence and composure just to mask the turmoil beneath. The venue was nothing short of breathtaking, grand, opulent, and exuding luxury in every corner. Gold and diamonds adorned the space, from the massive chandelier overhead to the meticulously arranged floral centerpieces. Every detail, from the tables and chairs to the shimmering decor, spoke of wealth and extravagance. I adjusted my suit and led the other members of the Waverly clan to our designated seats. To my surprise and satisfaction, we were placed at the table closest to the Alpha. A sense of triumph flickered through me. This was the perfect opportunity to engage him in conversation. As we settled in, it wasn't long before Alpha Kingston stepped onto the grand stage. He carried himself with an air of dominance and refinement, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. The moment he began his welcome speech, all eyes were on him. Applause and cheers erupted as he neared the end of his address. Then, just as the excitement began to settle, he smiled, pausing deliberately before speaking again. "Aside from everyone here," he said, his voice carrying effortlessly through the hall, "I would also like to welcome someone very dear to my heart." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Alpha Kingston's voice carried across the hall, steady and full of pride. She chose to set aside her status in the LaFleur clan to follow her heart's desires. And now, after 4 long years, she has finally decided to return. I'm grateful she did, because I believe her knowledge will be a great asset not just to the LaFleur clan, but to the entire gold sterling pack. I leaned slightly toward Monette. "I wonder who he's about to introduce." She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Whoever that is, I'm sure I'm still far better than her." Ignoring her remark, I turned my attention back to the grand stage. Alpha Kingston's voice rang with authority as he announced, "Everyone, ask you all to rise as we welcome the heiress of the Waverly clan, my only daughter, heiress Olivia LaFleur." A rush of anticipation coursed through me. My heart pounded as I waited to see her face. But the moment she stepped through the grand doors, my excitement twisted into something else entirely: confusion. She's wearing a stunning red gown, perfectly complemented by bold red lipstick, elegant jewelry, and the heiress crown. But that wasn't what left me frozen in place. It was her hair brunette. Her eyes hazel brown. They were Olivia's. Everything about her, the way she carried herself, the way she spoke, was undeniably familiar. Too familiar. I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly dry. Slowly, I turned to Monette. She was already staring at me, her face drained of color, her wide eyes filled with fear and disbelief. I forced myself to look back at the stage, only to find the woman's gaze locked onto mine. A slow, knowing smirk curved her lips, her expression dripping with mockery, as if taunting me, as if daring me to realize the full weight of my betrayal. This cannot be happening. How? How could Olivia be the heiress of the Lafleur clan? The fear, the confusion. The disbelief etched onto both Edward and Monette's faces the moment I stepped onto the stage filled me with deep, unshakable satisfaction. This was exactly what I wanted. For a fleeting moment, I made sure to meet Edward's eyes, held them there long enough for him to feel it. That's right. I could see the regret flickering across his face now. With practiced grace, I let the maids adjust the hem of my gown as I stepped forward, standing tall before the microphone. My gaze swept across the grand hall, taking in the sea of faces watching me. I inhaled deeply and began my speech. Every word was deliberate and meant to inspire. But as my eyes landed on Monette, her arm draped possessively around Edward's, I couldn't resist letting a harsh truth slip through. And of course, I continued, my voice poised, I must give thanks to the people who played a crucial role in my decision to return. If it weren't for their betrayal, if it weren't for their affair, I might still be there, rotting, without a purpose, following commands, and foolishly clinging to the lie that my mate ever truly loved me. A hush fell over the room. I let it stretch before turning my gaze directly to Edward. To both of you, I paused, letting the moment hang in the air, my voice turning softer yet no less cutting. I know you're here, and can hear me from the front row. Tell me, does what you did still make you sleep at night? For the rest of my speech, Edward and Monette kept their heads fixed on the floor. Shame? Guilt? Or perhaps they simply felt the murmurs and judging eyes around them. Almost everyone in the room had picked up on who I was referring to, and now, the betrayal they had once hidden was laid bare for all to see. They deserved it. The grand ball carried on, and everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. Everyone except Edward and Monette. Almost no one approached them, and when they attempted to speak with my father, he dismissed them without a second thought. So, for the remainder of the night, they sat in near isolation, drinking in silence, boredom etched across their faces. Hours passed, and soon it was time for the slow dance. My first dance was with my father, followed by a few noble princes who politely took their turns. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of Edward, his hands resting intimately on Monette's waist as they swayed together. The sight was eyesore. But just as my own dance partner guided me back to my seat, Edward's attention snapped toward me. And without hesitation, he set Monette aside and started walking straight to me. Edward extended his hand toward me. Can I have this dance? With so many eyes watching, I had no choice. As the heiress, I couldn't afford to appear rude or ungracious. So, without a word, I placed my hand in his and let him lead me onto the dance floor. The moment we reached the center, he pulled me in closer than necessary. Then, his gaze locked onto mine, searching, questioning. Olivia, is that really you? His voice was quiet. I turned my head slightly, avoiding his eyes. Who else would I be? His grip on me tightened. How did you become the heiress of the Lafleur clan? I've always been the heiress of this clan, Edward, I replied. But instead of easing up, he pulled me even closer, his breath warm against my skin. Then why didn't you ever tell me? He pressed. When I remained silent, he exhaled sharply before speaking again. You know what? It's not too late. We can still fix this. We can still reunite our mating bond. I stiffened, but he didn't stop. I know you still love me, Olivia. He murmured. That was it. I had heard enough. Without a second thought, I deliberately stepped on Edward's foot. Hard. He flinched, his grip loosening just enough for me to look him dead in the eyes. I didn't tell you because I wanted to make sure you'd marry me out of love and sincerity, not for money, power, or status, I said coldly. And I'm glad I hid the truth from you. Because if I hadn't, you probably would have married me the moment you realized I was your mate, only to betray me for someone else. I let the words sink in before delivering the final blow. Your greed for power and your selfishness is insatiable, Edward. Too bad your dream deal with my clan won't happen now. And unfortunately, I will never ever come back to you. His jaw clenched, desperation flashing in his eyes. I'm sorry, Olivia. Please, give me another. No chances will be given to you, Edward. Besides, you already have Monette. My voice was firm. I turned to walk away, but the moment I did, a sudden wave of dizziness hit me. I would hit the ground if Edward failed to catch me. His arms tightened around my waist, and then, in a hushed voice, he said, Olivia, my wolf is howling. My eyes widened. I can feel him, he continued, confusion creeping into his tone. But why? Our mating bond was severed. We shouldn't have any connection left unless. He trailed off, realization dawning. I swallowed hard, willing my body to move. I forced myself to stand, to turn away, but before I could, Edward grabbed my arm. Olivia. He whispered. Are you pregnant with my pup? The moment Edward asked about the pregnancy, a wave of nerves hit me, but I forced myself to stay composed. He can't know. I straightened my posture and met his gaze. I'm not, I said, my tone clipped and sharp. Edward's grip on my arm tightened in response. Let me go, I spat. Of course, he didn't. You're lying, Olivia. My wolf wouldn't react like this if there wasn't some kind of connection between us. Tell me the truth, are you pregnant? His voice was firm. He even pulled me closer, completely unfazed by the onlookers around us. I am telling the truth. I'm not pregnant. Now let me go, or I'll have the guards escort you out, I said, my voice steady. His grip loosened slightly, but he still didn't release me entirely. Then prove it, he challenged. Let's do a pregnancy test, Olivia. Show me you're telling the truth. I smirked, masking any trace of unease. I don't need to prove anything to you. We're over, I spat. Just as the tension threatened to escalate, Prince Sarge stepped between us. Without hesitation, I moved to his side, my fingers lightly curling around his arm. Sarge, would you tell this man to stop bothering me? He's getting on my nerves. Edward's expression darkened, his brows knitting together as his knuckles. Ed White. Olivia, who is he? Get your hands off him. Do you even know him? He demanded, frustration bleeding into his voice. Instead of answering, I tightened my grip on Sarge's arm. With all due respect, Lady Olivia Lafleur has asked you to leave her alone. Step back. Now, Sarge commanded, his voice edged with authority. But Edward didn't back down. In a flash, he nearly threw a punch at Sarge. We're not done yet, Olivia, he muttered, his voice low with warning as the guards finally forced him out. I will find out the truth. Even as the doors closed behind him, a chill crept down my spine. I knew this wasn't over. Monette. I sat at the kitchen counter in Edward's mansion, sipping a glass of wine, when he emerged from his room. He was dressed sharply, a bouquet of flowers in hand. I smiled at the sight. Do we have a dinner date? What's the occasion? But thank you for this, Ed, I said sweetly, reaching for the flowers. But before I could take them, he pulled them away and walked past me, heading straight to the mirror to check his reflection. These aren't for you, Monette, he said, his tone flat. Olivia's in the infirmary. I'm going to visit her. He didn't even spare me a glance. Then, just like that, he headed for the door, not waiting for a response. Panic flared inside me. Clutching my glass of wine, I rushed after him, blocking his path. "Don't go, Edward," I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice. "She'll be fine. Stay here, let's have dinner together." "My treat." "Move," he said coldly. I stood my ground. "Don't go, please, my head has been hurting so badly since yesterday. I need you here with me." I pouted, hoping to soften him. "There's medicine at the counter." "Ask the maid," he replied, his voice even colder. "Move." Desperation kicked in. Thinking fast, I set my glass down on the nearby table and reached for his tie, wrapping my fingers around the fabric. Slowly, I pulled myself closer, pressing a deep, lingering kiss against his lips. Edward didn't pull away. He kissed me back. "Stay with me," I murmured as our lips parted, my hands trailing down his chest in a slow caress. His jaw clenched. "I need to see her, Monette." "Move." But I knew Edward. I knew his weaknesses. And I knew exactly how to make him stay. With deliberate ease, I began undressing right in front of him, my gaze locked onto his. He wouldn't resist me. He never could. However, to my dismay, Edward simply shrugged off his coat and tossed it over me, covering my bare chest with a firm, dismissive gesture. It was the first time he had ever done this, and humiliation burned through me. "Why do you even care about her now?" I snapped, my voice shaking with anger. "Is it because she's the Lafleur clan's heiress? Is that it? You're just going to cast me aside for her? Edward, she's not yours anymore. You chose me, remember? Stop nagging, Monette." His voice was calm, but the dominance in his tone was unmistakable. Then, his next words. "I think Olivia's pregnant with my pup, and I need to confirm that. So please, fucking move." I froze. His words crushed my heart in an instant. My body moved on its own, stepping aside, and just like that, he was gone. He left me without another glance. The moment he was out of sight, I snatched my wine glass and downed the rest in one gulp. The bitterness did nothing to drown my fury. With a sharp cry, I hurled the glass at the floor, watching it shatter into jagged pieces. "She can't be pregnant," I seethed, my chest rising and falling with ragged breaths. "Not while I'm here hiding my infertility." My nails dug into my palms as my rage boiled over. "I have to do something. That Olivia bitch can't have Edward back." Olivia was still confined to the infirmary, and I intended to use that time to act against her. Thinking quickly, I slipped away to the Dark Witch's Market, where I purchased a vial of black potion and an infirmary healer's uniform. I waited until Edward left to run his errands before making my move. Dressed as a healer, I arrived at the infirmary around 6 p.m., blending seamlessly with the other staff. No one paid me any mind, which meant my disguise was working. The black potion sat hidden in my pocket. Keeping my expression neutral, I made my way toward Olivia's ward. Luck was on my side, she was alone and fast asleep. Slipping inside, I quietly set a glass on the bedside table. I uncorked the vial, poured the dark liquid into the glass and diluted it with water. The mixture turned clear, indistinguishable from ordinary water. A smirk tugged at my lips. Perfect. Just as I was about to step back, a light tap landed on my shoulder. "Healer? What are you doing?" My breath caught. Olivia was awake, adjusting the mask on my face and clearing my throat. I turned to face her. "The head healer asked me to make sure you stay hydrated." "Here," I said softly, offering her the glass of water with a gentle smile. She hesitated, bringing the glass to her nose for a cautious sniff. But in the end, she drank it down. Satisfaction curled in my chest. I never imagined she could be this naive. "How are you feeling?" I asked, deliberately changing my voice. "Better. I just hope the baby stays healthy," she answered. It's confirmed, then. The bitch is really pregnant. Well, not for long now. Taking the empty glass from her hand, I gave a respectful bow and left the room without another word. The potion would take effect in 2 days. Now, all I had to do was wait. Olivia. After 2 days in the infirmary, I was feeling better and finally allowed to leave. My pregnancy wasn't a secret anymore, but I still wanted to hide it from Edward. I turned to Sarge with a grateful smile. Thank you for being here, I said. He returned my smile warmly. It's my pleasure to do this for you, Lady Olivia. Come on, Sarge. You can simply call me by my name. I responded. With him carrying all my belongings, we stepped out of the ward. As we walked down the hallway, nearing the infirmary's main doors, we unexpectedly ran into Edward once again with a bouquet in hand. His expression was tense, frustration evident in the way he strode toward me. Without a second thought, he thrust the flowers into my hands. Olivia, please. Just take the pregnancy test before you leave. I barely glanced at the bouquet before tossing it into the nearby trash bin. Stop wasting your time and money, Edward. You hurt her. Respect her decision, Sarge added firmly. The moment Sarge spoke, I saw Edward's jaw clench. Something in him seemed to snap. His dark glare flicked toward Sarge, filled with barely contained rage. Fuck you, he spat, and in a nick of time, he swung. His fist connected hard with Sarge's face, sending him crashing to the ground. What the hell, Edward? My voice was sharp with anger. I rushed to help Sarge up, but before I could, Edward cornered me aggressively. His eyes burned with desperation as he spoke. You're driving me insane, Olivia. You're gone from my life, and I know that's my fault. But now, with this suspicion of your pregnancy, I never realized just how much losing you would destroy me. His voice dripped with possessiveness. His grip tightening slightly. Let me go. Sarge, get up. I struggled against him, but he didn't back down. My wolf still yearns for you, Olivia, he continued. And I'll do whatever it takes to have you back. Before I could react, he forced a kiss on my lips, brief, intense, and entirely unwanted. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away, leaving me stunned and breathless with fury. I barely had time to recover when my day took another sharp turn for the worse. Monette. She appeared out of nowhere, her lips curling into a sly smirk before she stormed toward me. Without a warning, her hand lashed out, striking my cheek with a sharp slap. Slut. Stay away from Edward, she shrieked. He's literally the one chasing after me. Before I could finish, Monette's hand struck my face again. But this time, I refused to just take it lying down. Without hesitation, I slapped her back. The sharp sting on my palm was nothing compared to what I felt next. A sudden, searing cramp twisted in my stomach. Then, warmth spread between my legs. A thick, viscous fluid. I looked down. Blood. A lot of blood. Panic surged through me as my vision blurred with fear. My hands trembled as I clutched my stomach. Monette, help me, my voice came out weak. But she only smiled a slow, satisfied grin. Like she had been waiting for this moment all along. The baby is gone. I'm sorry, Lady Olivia, but we couldn't do anything to save it, the healer said softly. Her head bowed in regret. A chilling numbness spread through my entire body. I felt nothing, and yet, tears slipped silently from the corners of my eyes. My hands instinctively clutched my belly, as if I could somehow hold on to what was already lost. Seconds passed before I found the strength to look at the healer. How did this happen? My voice wavered. You told me the baby was fine. Healthy. So why? What went wrong? The healer exhaled a slow, heavy sigh. Based on the tests we conducted, we've confirmed that you have taken an abortion potion, Lady Olivia. Her words struck me hard. An abortion potion? My heart pounded wildly. No, I whispered, shaking my head. I would never take something like that. My voice grew desperate. I wanted this baby. I want this baby. I would never. I stopped mid-sentence as a sudden realization hit me. A thought so terrifying that it left me breathless. What? The healer asked. Concern etched across her face. I swallowed hard and met her gaze. Just remembered. The other day, around 6 p.m., a healer came out of nowhere and made me drink a glass of water. I felt uneasy about it. I even suspected her, but I drank it anyway. My hands began to tremble as I spoke. The healer's brow furrowed. Who was she? I shook my head. I don't know. Her face was covered by a black mask. She just walked in and casually told me the head healer had ordered me to drink water to stay hydrated. My voice wavered, my own naivety crashing down on me. The healer's expression darkened. Lady Olivia. The head healer would never assign someone to do that. And besides, the four attached to you was already keeping you hydrated. My breath hitched. A cold realization washed over me. I'm so stupid, I whispered, my stomach twisting. Why didn't I think about that? And then, at that moment, a name surfaced in my mind: Monette. Yesterday, when Monette saw the blood flowing between my thighs, she didn't look shocked. She didn't look concerned. She grinned. She looked satisfied. Victorious. The memory sent a shiver down my spine. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I didn't want to believe someone could be so cruel, but could Monette have disguised herself as a healer? Could she have been the one who gave me that drink? Could she have caused me to lose my baby? Fuck. My thoughts spiraled, my mind racing with possibilities, with anger, with grief, until the door suddenly swung open. Edward. He strode in, his face tight with worry. What happened? Olivia? Why are you here again? I couldn't look at him. I refused to. Instead, I clenched my jaw and muttered, "Why don't you ask your mistress, Edward?" His expression shifted. What do you mean? He took a step closer. Did she do something to you? Tell me. His voice was insistent, demanding answers. I'll admit it. I was pregnant, I confessed. Edward's expression froze. Was. What do you mean was? That's when I finally looked into his eyes. I just had a miscarriage, Edward, I said, my chest tightening. The healer told me I drank an abortion potion, but I never did. And my instincts, my gut tells me Monette had something to do with it. His jaw tensed. His eyes darkened. But instead of sympathy, anger flared in his expression. You're being unreasonable, Olivia, he snapped. You can't just accuse someone of something this horrible, especially when you have no proof. His voice rose. You should have taken better care of yourself. You should have told me about the pregnancy sooner so I could have protected you. Fuck. With that, he stormed out of the room, leaving me frozen in place. Then the tears came, heavier this time. Because, deep down, I knew he had a point. Edward. I drowned myself in alcohol, hoping to silence the thoughts clawing at my mind. Olivia had been selfish. And because of that selfishness, the baby was gone. My child was gone. I downed another glass in one go, the burn of the liquor doing nothing to numb the ache in my chest. Frustration surged through me, and before I could stop myself, I threw the empty glass against the counter, watching it shatter. I was almost a father. By the time I stumbled home, it was already 2 a.m. I went straight to the bedroom and found Monette fast asleep. I knew what kind of woman she was: cruel, manipulative. But Olivia's accusations? That was different. That was murder. And no matter how vicious Monette could be, I just couldn't believe she'd go that far. Sighing, I sat beside her and gently brushed my fingers across her forehead before pressing a kiss there. Then, without a word, I made my way to the laundry area, stripping off my clothes for a much-needed shower. But as I reached for my towel, something on the floor caught my eye. A pair of old jeans. They weren't mine. And they weren't Monette's either. I had never seen her wear them. Not once. My drunken haze lifted slightly as suspicion crept in. I picked up the jeans, and as I lifted them, something small and fragile slipped from the pocket. A vial. It hit the floor and shattered, the remaining liquid scattered on the ground. I frowned as I crouched down for a closer look. That's when I saw the tag on the glass. Black potion. My blood ran cold. What the fuck? I knew what this was. Anyone who had dealings in the underground knew. Miscarriage potions from the Dark Witch's Market were called black potion. A sickening feeling coiled in my gut. Without a second thought, I rushed to the bedroom. My heart pounded as I grabbed Monette and shook her awake. What the? Edward. I didn't let her finish. My palm connected with her cheek in a sharp, unforgiving slap. Her eyes widened in shock. Tell me the truth, I demanded, my voice dangerously low. I held up the broken vial, my hands shaking with rage. Do you know anything about Olivia's miscarriage? For a full minute, Monette just stared at me. Guilt. Nervousness. Fear. All flickered in her eyes, betraying her silence. I clenched my jaw, my patience snapping. Come on, Monette, tell me the truth. I shook her body. Why the fuck do you have a vial of black potion in your pocket? Did you use this on Olivia? Tears spilled freely down her face, but she wiped them away just as quickly. Then, to my disgust, she scoffed. So what? She spat. Her voice trembling but defiant. Does it ever matter? My fists curled. Edward, she's your ex-mate, your ex-girlfriend. We should be planning our wedding right now, shouldn't we? Her voice cracked, but she kept going. Everything was already set for us, for our future. Whether she was pregnant or not, you shouldn't be paying attention to her anymore. She let out a choked laugh, shaking her head. It hurts me to see you still caring about that bitch. You fucking promised to marry me, Edward. Stop wasting your time on her. The moment she stopped yapping, my palm connected with her face. She gasped, eyes wide, clutching her cheek. I glared at her. You're a fucking murderer, Monette. You killed my child. You took away my chance to be a father. I will never forgive you, I said, my voice deadly low. I took a step back, my body shaking with rage. The pup wasn't even born yet. What are you? I don't want to marry you anymore. My voice was ice cold. I'm calling off every plan we made. Monette's smirk faltered for just a second before she recovered. Her lips curled in amusement. Like she was certain I wouldn't go through with it. Like she knew I was trapped. Are you sure? She spat. You do realize that without the Hampton clan's help, the Waverley clan would crumble, right? We made your pathetic little clan sustainable and thriving. You've gained so much from us, Edward, and you still are. She tilted her head, eyes gleaming with arrogance. Dumping me means losing everything: our support, our help, our partnership. My jaw clenched. Shut up. But she only laughed. Oh. Why so defensive? She taunted. Ashamed of the truth? That the mighty Waverley clan can't even stand on its own? That without outside help, you're nothing but a weak leader? I took a step toward her, but she still kept on going. That's why you were so desperate to secure a deal with the Lafleur clan, wasn't it? Her eyes flickered viciously. Because deep down, you know. Fury surged through me, and before I could stop myself, my palm struck her cheek again. I told you to shut up. I growled. Monette barely flinched this time. Instead, she sneered, her lips curling into that same arrogant smirk. Without me, without us, you're nothing, she spat. I let out a sharp breath. Say whatever you want. I don't care. I kept my voice steady. I'm not afraid of you, Monette. And just so you know, your threats won't change my mind. I met her gaze without hesitation. I won't marry a desperate murderer after all, I smirked, tilting my head. Don't love you. The moment the words left my lips, I saw the pain in her eyes. She swallowed hard, her confidence slipping. But, you told me you loved me, she whispered. I let out a humorless chuckle. I don't. Ever since Olivia left, I realized something. It wasn't you I wanted, it was the support the Hampton clan gave me. The convenience of our arrangement. The satisfaction of having sex with you. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice to a taunting whisper. But her absence? I let out a dark chuckle. That made me hate you, Monette. She shook her head furiously. You're lying, her voice trembled. You're only saying that because you want to hurt me. Because you're mad. I'm telling the truth, I said firmly. Even after my mating bond with Olivia was severed, my heart still beat for her. And you know what? I'm willing to risk everything to win her back, even if it means the downfall of the Waverly clan. Monette's face twisted in panic, and before I could react, she threw herself at me, wrapping her arms around my torso in a desperate embrace. I love you, Edward, she sobbed, clinging on to me like her life depended on it. Please don't do this to me. I love you. I'll die without you, please. I'll be better. I'll give you anything, just don't leave me. Her cries filled the room, but I felt nothing. I pried her arms off me, shoving her back with enough force that she stumbled onto the bed. I want you to leave, Monette. My voice was commanding. She shook her head. No, leave. Edward, please. I said leave. I roared, my patience snapping. Monette's eyes burned with fury, but she didn't argue. Instead, she pushed herself off the bed, storming toward the door. You're going to regret this, Edward, she spat before disappearing from sight. I exhaled sharply, running a hand down my face. Let her go. I'd already wasted too much time on her. The next morning, just as the sun began to rise, one of our clan messengers came rushing toward me, panic etched across his face. Alpha, he gasped, handing me a white envelope. It's from the Hampton clan. My stomach twisted as I tore it open and scanned the contents. Waverly clan's list of debts. Every detail was meticulously recorded, every establishment the Hampton clan had funded, down to the tiniest decoration in the plaza. And at the very bottom, the final total stared back at me like a death sentence. $15 million. Due in 1 week. Fuck. Edward. My grip tightened on the letter before I crumpled it in my fist. Without hesitation, I met the messenger's anxious gaze. Tell them I will pay. And I did pay. But at a devastating cost. The payment drained nearly everything the Waverly clan had. Our assets, our resources gone. And in the end, I had no choice but to face the truth. Our clan was crippled. So I did the only thing I could. I told my members to leave to find a more sustainable clan. Most of them did. Despite everything falling apart, Olivia remained my top priority. Maybe it was an obsession, but I didn't care. I had nothing to lose now. I went to see her, hoping we could finally have a real conversation, one where we weren't at each other's throats. A fresh start, maybe. But the moment I laid eyes on her, that hope shattered. She was smiling. And worse, her arms were wrapped around him. Sarge. My blood boiled. He had no right to touch her. No one did. She's mine. A dangerous thought crept into my mind, one I couldn't ignore. If talking wouldn't bring her back to me, then maybe force would. So I set my plan into motion. Dressed in all black, I drove to a secluded spot somewhere outside the Lafleur clan's borders, yet familiar enough that Olivia might wander there. The Lake of Barrow. A peaceful sanctuary. Rolling green grass, wildflowers swaying in the breeze, a crystal-clear lake stretching beneath a canopy of trees and open meadows. It was exactly the kind of place Olivia sought when she needed solitude, when she wanted to clear her thoughts. And I knew her well enough to be sure eventually she'd come. So, I waited. But patience was never my strong suit. Days turned into a week. Then another. And still nothing. I was so close to snapping, to marching into the Lafleur clan territory and taking her myself. Damn the consequences. But then, on the 20th day, I finally saw her. The love of my life, Olivia. Butler Silas, I'll be fine. I offered him a reassuring smile as I placed my book into the basket. He still didn't look convinced. Are you sure you don't want us to go with you? Just for your safety? It was the nth time he had asked, his brows furrowed with concern. I'm only going to the Lake of Barrow to read and relax, I assured him gently. It's barely outside the clan's borders, and I won't be gone long, just an hour at most. Sarge exhaled sharply. At least promise to call me or mind link me if you need anything. I'll be there in a flash. I nodded. I will. Only then did they finally let me leave. The walk to the lake took barely 10 minutes, the crisp air and rustling leaves made the way peaceful. When I arrived, I spread out my picnic blanket, unpacked my food, and settled in with my book. The stillness of the place wrapped around me as I let myself relax, if only for a little while. But the feeling of serenity didn't last long. As I flipped to the first page, a strange prickling sensation crept up my spine, like unseen eyes were watching me. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. I swallowed, suddenly aware of how quiet it had become. Something wasn't right. I'm just overthinking, I told myself, shaking off the unease. But then, a shadow moved in the trees. I stayed alert, my fingers already gripping my phone, ready to call Sarge. But before I could press a single button, a strong force yanked me back. A rough hand clamped over my eyes, another over my mouth. I thrashed, desperate to break free, but the struggle was brief. Within seconds, everything faded into darkness. By the time I regained consciousness, I had no idea where I was or how much time had passed. All I knew was that I was in danger. Panic surged through me as I realized my situation. Both my hands and feet were bound to the four corners of a king-sized bed. The room around me was unfamiliar, the air thick with dust. Though the only light came from the cracks in the boarded-up windows, my eyes adjusted quickly, taking in my surroundings. The place was a nightmare. The windows were broken, cobwebs clung to the corners, and the floor was littered with shattered liquor bottles, cigarette butts, and filth. Rats scurried along the walls, and cockroaches darted between the debris. My breathing grew ragged as fear clawed at my chest. Where the fuck was I? Suddenly, the door swung open, creaking on its rusted hinges. A man dressed entirely in black strode toward me, a food tray balanced in his hands. Without a word, he placed it on the bedside table. Though his face was covered, I knew exactly who he was. Let me go. Please, I spat. A low chuckle escaped him, one I recognized instantly. It sent a chill down my spine. Slowly, he reached up and pulled the mask away, revealing the face I once loved. Edward. Even now, despite everything, he looked effortlessly handsome, dashing, refined, the kind of man who could make hearts race with a single glance. But it was absurd, wasn't it? How someone so angelic in appearance could hide such a monstrous soul beneath. Olivia. I'm sorry if this makes you feel uncomfortable, Edward said, his voice laced with an eerie gentleness. You don't have to do this. I know the room is a mess. Well, it's one of my late father's abandoned properties, but don't worry, it's only temporary. In a day or two, we'll move to a mansion far away from everyone and start over. Just the two of us. He said, cutting me off mid-sentence. He was trying so hard to sound sweet, but that only made the whole situation more unsettling. I kept my gaze locked on him, my body tense, ready for anything. At any time, I could have a chance to escape. At any time, we could fight. And at any time, Edward could snap and kill me. Strangely, he treated me with care. He even tried to feed me, lifting a spoon toward my lips, but I only turned my head away in disgust. "You need to eat, Olivia," he coaxed. "Come on, don't starve yourself." I met his gaze. "I'd rather starve than stay here with you. The only thing I need now is my freedom, not your damn food." "Let me go, Edward." His expression darkened. "I won't do that." I clenched my fists, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Stop making this situation worse. Sarge will save me. My father will. Save me. The whole LaFleur clan will think me soon, and when they do, you'll be captured and thrown in aisle. End this before it's too late for you." His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The silence between us felt suffocating. Seconds later, he lost control. Edward flipped the bedside table over with a violent force. The food scattered across the filthy floor, drawing the rats out of the shadows. They scurried toward the mess, their tiny claws scratching against the wooden floor. Before I could react, his hand wrapped around my throat, squeezing just enough to make breathing difficult. "Don't you dare say that stupid man's name in front of me," he roared, his face inches from mine. His breath was hot, and his grip was unrelenting. Then, without warning, he crushed his lips against mine in a forceful, possessive kiss. He pulled back just long enough for me to gasp for air. "Your lips still tasted like sweet cherries. I missed you." He spoke like a psychopath. Desperately, I tried to mind link Sarge, "Come on, please." But nothing. The connection wouldn't go through. I tried again. Still nothing. "Just so you know, mind links don't work in this place," he revealed. Terror crawled up my body. "They're going to kill you, Edward. Please stop this." My voice wavered, releasing the fear I didn't want to show. He chuckled darkly. "They can try. But if they do, I'll make sure you go first. That way, we'll still be together, in the afterlife." A chill ran through me. "You're insane." "Shut your filthy mouth up, my queen," Edward murmured darkly as he unbuckled his belt. My breath caught in my throat. "No. This can't be happening. Our night is going to be long and tiring," he whispered, stripping off his shirt as he moved closer. Tears welled in my eyes as his hands began to roam where they had no right to be. To my chests. To my thighs. And later to my womanhood. My wrists strained against the bindings as I tried to free myself, but all my efforts were in vain. I was trapped, and completely helpless under his power. "Moon goddess, I need your help." "Edward, don't," I choked out. "Please don't do this to me." He ignored me as his lips trailed down my neck. I twisted away as much as I could, my body trembling in fear. "We lost our unborn pup," he muttered against my skin, his tone disturbingly soft. "So it's only natural we make a new one." My world shattered. Olivia. That night, Edward took everything he wanted from me, my body, my dignity, without hesitation. I lay there, numb. I was forced to witness his pleasure while I remained helpless and broken beneath him. He didn't care that every touch, every movement, was against my will. That my silent tears stained the dusty pillow as I begged him to stop. His obsession had consumed him, leaving no room for remorse, no space for humanity. He violated me, stripped me of my worth, and yet, when it was over, he had the audacity to smile, acting as if nothing had happened. Without a word, he tossed a blanket over my naked body, a pitiful mockery of care, then lit a cigarette, exhaling a slow stream of smoke into the already suffocating surrounding. "I had so much fun, Olivia," he murmured, his voice laced with menace. "You should get some rest. Tomorrow, we'll do it all over again." Terror crawled beneath my skin at his words. A sickening wave of disgust churned in my stomach. My entire body recoiled from the reality of what he had done, of what he intended to keep doing. "Edward, you're sexually abusing me. Aren't you disgusted with yourself? You are my mate. I'm your boyfriend, your future husband. How could there be abuse between us? He interrupted smoothly, as if his twisted logic could erase my horror. I swallowed back the bile rising in my throat. That was in the past, Edward. I am not your girlfriend anymore, and I sure as hell am not your mate. I never wanted to be your wife either. My voice shook, but I refused to let him silence me. And I don't even understand why you're doing this. You chose Monette over me. You threw me away, Edward. I gave you every inch of my love and you wasted it. Now that I want nothing to do with you, why are you here? Why are you caging me, chasing me like I'm something you can own? It makes no sense. His jaw tightened, but he refused to answer. Instead, he merely exhaled sharply and turned for the door. I'll see you tomorrow, he muttered before stepping out, the heavy click of the lock sealing my fate once more. When will my suffering end? I sobbed. For a while, I struggled against the restraints, twisting my wrists in a desperate attempt to free myself. The rough rope bit into my skin, leaving deep red marks, but no matter how hard I pulled, the knots held firm. My strength was failing. I was ready to give up, until a desperate, absurd idea struck me. My gaze shifted to the tray of spoiled food Edward had left on the bedside table. Forcing my body to stretch as far as it could, I nudged the tray with my head, uncovering it. Then, using my teeth, I grabbed a piece of the rotten food and chewed despite the rancid taste threatening to make me gag. Once it was soft enough, I spit it onto the rope binding my wrist to the bedpost. The stench attracted the rats almost instantly. They scurried toward it, their tiny teeth gnawing not just at the food, but at the rope itself. My heart pounded as I watched, silently praying they would chew through it. Minutes passed. Then an hour. I repeated the process over and over, my patience wearing thin until finally, with a faint snap, the rope gave way. My hand was free. Wasting no time, I grabbed the plate from the bedside table and deliberately smashed it against the floor. Careful not to cut myself, I seized a jagged shard and sawed through the remaining bindings. It took effort, but soon, both my hands and feet were free. I was no longer helpless. Now, I just needed to escape. Cautiously, I crept toward the door and peered through the tiny hole. There was nothing but darkness. That meant Edward was likely gone for the night and wouldn't return until tomorrow. I had no time to waste. My mind raced as I scanned the room for an escape route. There was only one way out the broken window. But this room was on the second floor. I had two choices: jump tonight and take my chances, or wait for Edward to catch me in the act only to end up bound to the bedpost again, this time with metal cuffs. Screw the injuries. I was getting out of here. Without hesitation, I climbed onto the windowsill and leaped. My body crashed onto a patch of dried grass and fallen leaves, cushioning the fall just enough. Pain shot through my elbow, and my arm throbbed, but I was alive. I couldn't stop. I pushed myself up and sprinted into the woods. I didn't care if I stepped on something sharp or if my feet bled. Nothing mattered except getting away. After what felt like an eternity, I finally slowed down, my chest heaving. Pressing my back against a massive oak tree, I took a shaky breath and attempted to mind link Sarge again. Sarge, please help me. Please find me, my voice was desperate. To my surprise, a response came instantly. The mind link connected. Olivia, keep your link open. We're on our way to save you. Relief flooded through me. Finally, a glimpse of hope. Edward. I'm not a great cook, and I hate staying in the kitchen, but for the love of my life, I'll do it. I prepared all her favorite steak, steamed vegetables, and chicken curry, carefully packing them into sealed containers. With everything ready, I headed to the abandoned mansion, eager to see Olivia again. But the moment I stepped onto the second floor and pushed open the door to the room where I had left her, my excitement vanished. The bed was empty. The only ones left were the rats, scurrying across the floor. Fuck. I roared, hurling the meal I had prepared against the wall. Food splattered everywhere, but I didn't care. I rushed to the bed. Scanning the NE. The rope chewed through. Fucking clever. She used the damn rats to free her hands. My gaze snapped to the window. The crack in the glass was wider than before. She jumped. I clenched my fists. I never should have left her. I licked my lips, a dark thrill coursing through me. You can't run forever, Olivia. I'll hunt you down to the ends of the earth, and when I find you, I'll devour every inch of you. My voice came out as a low, raspy growl. Rage surged through me, so I turned to the king-sized bed and, with one violent motion, flipped it over. The crash echoed through the room, splintering the wooden floor beneath it. Without wasting another second, I stormed out of the abandoned mansion. Olivia had only one way to go. The deep blue forest. This cursed place forbade wolves from shifting, so I searched for her in my human form. I combed through every corner, every shadowed space behind the trees, and even scanned the branches above. An hour passed. Nothing. But exhaustion? I didn't feel it. I wouldn't care if it took all day, because no matter how far she ran, I would find her another hour passed before I finally caught a lead. A red hair tie. I knew it was hers. I picked it up, my fingers tightening around the fabric as I pushed forward. This time, I could feel it. She was close and I wasn't wrong. Behind a massive oak tree, Olivia sat curled up like a lost, helpless creature, her breath uneven, her body trembling. A wicked smirk tugged at my lips. Playing hide and seek, Well, game over. I found you. Her head snapped up, eyes wide with sheer terror. Edward, no, she whispered. I reached for her wrist. But before I could touch her, a commanding voice rang out. Stop right there. Don't you dare lay a hand on her. That fucking Sarge again. Olivia. I was grateful just as Edward had found me. Sarge and his warriors had arrived in time. I had been seconds away from falling back into that nightmare, from losing my one chance at escape. The moment I saw Sarge, I sprang to my feet and rushed to his side. Only then did I feel a sliver of safety. But when I glanced back at Edward, the look in his eyes made my blood run cold. There. Pure with seething malice. Sarge stepped forward. I won't let you lay another finger on her. With my life, I will protect Olivia, especially from you. Edward only chuckled darkly. Protect her? From what? I didn't harm her. In fact, I pleasured her. The proof is the way she moaned my name. Shut up, Edward. I snapped, my voice shaking with rage. I was screaming for you to stop sexually abusing me. He cut me off, a twisted smirk curling his lips. Olivia is mine, Sarge. I've seen and tasted every inch of her delicate body. She gave everything to me, and no one else will ever have her that way except for me. Edward didn't get to finish. Sarge's fist collided with his jaw, cutting him off mid-sentence. The force of the punch sent Edward staggering backward. Get him! Sarge barked. The warriors wasted no time, surrounding Edward and snapping a pair of handcuffs onto his wrists. I stood frozen in place. My mind was a whirlwind, my body trembling as everything that happened crashed down on me. Even as I watched the warriors drag Edward away, I still couldn't move. Sarge turned to me and gently extended his hand. Come on. Olivia. But I couldn't take it. My fingers barely twitched. I was still lost in the horror, my body refusing to cooperate. Seeing this, Sarge didn't hesitate to scoop me up in his arms. For a long moment, we just looked at each other, his steady gaze grounding me. You're safe now, he murmured, his voice a quiet promise. Something about his warmth, his certainty, made the ice in my veins thaw just a little. As he carried me back to the Lafleur clan, I let my head rest against his broad shoulder, finally allowing myself to breathe. I had fallen asleep, exhaustion pulling me down. When I woke up, we had already arrived at the Lafleur clan. The familiar scent of home filled the air, but my body still felt heavy. The moment I stirred, my father, our alpha, was already rushing toward me. His relief was evident in the way he pulled me into a tight embrace, but beneath that, I could feel his anger simmering. His sharp gaze suddenly turned to Edward. "Someone like you is unworthy of any position in this pack, unworthy of even setting foot here," he declared, his voice thick with dominance. Then, in a single, fluid motion, my father reached into his pocket and pulled out a gun. Bang! A deafening shot rang through the air. "Olivia!" The deafening gunshot echoed through the room. Edward collapsed onto the cold ground, motionless. But there was no blood. No sign of a fatal wound. Stunned, I turned to my father, my breath caught in my throat. He calmly slid the gun back into his pocket and met my gaze. "It's a tranquilizer," he said. "He'll be out for at least 10 hours. Today's story is over. Thank you all for listening.